Welcome everyone to our webinar today on how to buy and scale RV parks. We're super excited to have you guys here. So before I introduce our special guest, I just want to be upfront about what today is and what it's not, because we're not doing a product walkthrough. We're going to show you obviously what we have going on, but we're not going to do a full feature list. That's not what this is. Today, it's about real conversations about how we're going to actually build portfolios for RV parks, and not the version where everything works out perfectly, because we know that that's not how it happens, and that the numbers don't make sense from day one. So we have Mychele here, who is the founder of Bison Peak Ventures. She's gone from her very first acquisition all the way to running multi-park portfolios. And she's done it with so much, intention on how, she finds the deals, to how she keeps the parks the way that they are, to how she funds them, to how she has her operations, from her managers to even her higher up in her, operations, to really make it keep that family feel of RV parks, which is all, what we love about this industry. So, Mychele, I'm so glad you're here, and welcome. And I'll let you say hello and give a little bit of background about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mychele Bisson, and my husband and I actually decided to go into RV investing in about 2023. I originally started as a family investor, so I bought single family homes and I would rent them out. Moved from that into luxury boutiques and realized very quickly that while I love staying in luxury boutiques, it wasn't actually the industry I wanted to be in. There's lots of management, lots of operations. There's really no personal interaction with your guests. And I just realized that it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So then we jumped into our first RV park, and that was kind of the start of everything. And that's where I fell in love with the industry.
I love that. So, like, before we get into it, let's ask them the same question that me and you talk about all the time, right? Can everybody see it? Where are you in your RV park journey right now? So obviously we know that Mychele, that's not where she started, but that's where she is, and that's where she's growing her business. So are we actively searching for our first RV park? Do we own one or two parks and we're looking to grow? We're already scaling where we have three or more, or we're just exploring and we're kind of curious about the space. And, we'll get into talking about the outdoor hospitality space, but that compared to really any other hospitality industry is just so niche, right? Like, each of your parks, Mychele, all have different personality. They have different views. They're in all different parts of the country. I mean, she's in Washington State right now. And then she has one right up the road in Tennessee from here too. So, a little bit of everything. We have it. The winner is actively searching for our first park, which is interesting. I thought we were going to have more of, ones who had three or more. We have a solid amount with one or two, and then just exploring and curious about the space. So, Mychele, you have a little bit of everything for all these type of people. So I really love this. We're going to break it down. Obviously, Mychele with her origin story of, where she found this and framework, and um, what she's building, where she found it. So let's actually talk about how your deals happen. Walk us through how you find your parks, how you found your first park, and how, you continue to build.
Well, crazy enough, I think that sometimes you're just destined to be in certain things, and that's kind of how our first park came along, is that I wasn't looking for an RV park. It actually was not something that was on my radar. I had never been in an RV park. I'd never been in an RV,
That's
as crazy as
crazy.
it sounds.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my father was an infantryman. So when we would go camping, I'm from Colorado, Colorado Springs. We would actually get backpacks with tents and we would hike up into the Rocky Mountains and then pitch a tent. And that's how we actually camped. So it was like real, like rugged camping. And
I love that. Primitive camping.
yes, very
Yeah.
primitive. And I didn't realize that there was any other way to do this, honestly. Like it wasn't something that I thought existed.
Right.
So RV parks were never on my radar. But when I built my first luxury resort in Scottsdale, I just realized that it was just impersonal and it wasn't something that I really wanted to be into. So, but I also wanted to scale and I wanted to continue doing things. And so I was looking at different ways. Ultimately, I got into investing to help my husband retire from his high-paying W-2. It was hard to watch him day in and day out, answered to a boss that didn't know anything about him or his life, and that really
Right.
bothered me. And he'd been in the industry in spirits and alcohol for 30 years, I think. COVID happens, restaurants shut down, and he specialized in franchise operations. Um, and it was just kind of one of those eye-opening moments where we're like, oh my God, we have a beautiful home, we have a beautiful life, we can travel all over the world, we can do all these things. And it can be taken away from us in a second and we're not building anything for us. And
Right.
that really like hit me. And so I decided that that day, actually, I was like, I'm going to figure out something else. And so talked to a friend who had built up this real estate portfolio, which I had no idea she was doing. She had up during COVID and moved her and her family to Tennessee and just bought 3 cabins. And I was like, how did you do that? And she was like, well, we've been buying houses for years. And I was like, what are you talking about? So we had this conversation one night at dinner. Literally the next day, I went out and bought my first single family home. Patrick was on the golf course. He had no idea. And so called him up and was like, hey, I just bought our first single family home. We're going to rent it out. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, we're landlords now. It's going to be great. And so
Gonna
thankfully,
be
my
great.
husband is a wonderful, amazing, patient man.
I
But
love that.
that kind of really started our journey. And so I built up a portfolio and it was great. It was kind of the thing that I wanted to do at that point in time and thought this is all there is to it. Then we were brought a piece of land to build this resort in Scottsdale. And then I was like, okay, after doing that was when I was finally like, this could actually be something we do.
Hmm.
And so at that point, Patrick left his W-2 because I had now replaced his income a couple of times. And he was like, I think I'm ready to jump into this with you. What does that look like? And I was like, I really want something where we can build something together.
Right.
And so we started looking at all kinds of different asset classes. Like, where would our heart be? Like, what could we do together? What can we build that will leave our legacy? And we looked at storage units, we looked at mobile home parks, we looked at apartment buildings, multifamilies, boutique resorts. And at the bottom of a email was this one little line on an RV park. And Patrick picked it up and he was like, what do you know about RV parks? And I was like, nothing. What are you talking about?
I know from when I was camping, that's about it.
Yeah, like, it's not something that I had ever been familiar with, really. The
Right.
only part of the RV world I knew was that my daughter was a competitive dancer as a child, and Branson, Missouri, where this park was located, was a place that we had gone. And I knew that a lot of families that had traveled with us would stay in the RV parks in the area. And that was
Right.
the extent of what I knew. Otherwise, it was I don't know. It's a completely foreign thing. I don't know. I've never been in an RV. I don't know
Right.
what they look like. I don't know. And so I told him, I was like, the only thing I really know about them is that a lot of families that I traveled with would go and stay in Branson during these competitions. And so we started looking at it and started running the numbers. And when we started running the numbers, we were a little shocked at how much you can make on it, especially since this park was not doing what it should be doing technically according to, whatever
Numbers. Yeah.
numbers are out there. Um, but then when I started really researching it, I started realizing that it wasn't just a multifamily. It wasn't a place that people go and live for a long time. It wasn't um, affordable housing, which it could be,
Right.
but not this particular park. Um, it wasn't like a hotel or a luxury property like I had already built where people go and stay and I don't know anything about them. It
Right.
was more of a vacation place where people go to unwind, hang out, be together, connect, and actually like be together.
Yep.
And so that was like, okay, well, let's check it out. So that was kind of our first trek into exploring the RV space.
Well, and me and you talked about this like before we came on, right? It's like there's just such a difference in like what you were saying, like the atmosphere of like being in an RV space and like the camaraderie that surrounds RV space. And you get on an elevator at a hotel and you don't speak to the person beside you. Whereas when you pull into an RV park and you can't back in because you can't see and your wife's not being very helpful, right? The guy from beside you's like, come on, man, you've got like 5 feet, you know? And so it's like such a difference in culture and atmosphere and the fact that like you got to experience that, walking on to, your first property and seeing that and keeping that alive, I think is a lot of things that people don't think about, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no perfect story, there's no perfect deal. It's like they're not doing well. How can I make this, park more money, but also keep the history of this park alive? And I think that that's one thing that you guys do beautifully. And one thing that you've obviously learned along the way too. So, and that's one thing that's of so much value that you can't take away, especially within
Yeah.
this space.
Well, and I think that that's a thing that I have learned the most in the space. I mean, I'm not going to lie, when I first went into the space, it was more about the dollars than it was anything else.
Of
Um,
course. Yeah.
and then when I got in there and I started realizing like the families and the impact you have on these families, that's when our entire business model just changed. Because it was like, okay, this is more of a responsibility than I
Yep.
actually thought. It wasn't like I'm building a multifamily and people are going to live in it and whatever. They're going to celebrate Christmas there and have dinner there, and I'm never going to know who they are. It was, these are generations of families that have come to the same park year after year after year, that have
Yep.
these traditions, that have these. I mean, I met a guy yesterday and he said, I've been coming here since I was 6 years old.
And he's probably brought his kids.
And he's in his 60s.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I yesterday was working in our newest park in Marina. Well, when I say working, I use that term loosely. I was pretty much probably more of a burden to my office staff as I was trying to, figure out how to do the fueling and the mortgage and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but like there was a gentleman who had been coming to the park for, I don't know, 30 years, and he just met a new woman and he was bringing her to his favorite spot for the first time. And
That's
so
amazing.
he was there. And then my manager was trying to make sure that they got a waterfront spot so that they could have a special weekend for her first time in his favorite spot. There was a couple there who the gentleman, they were both in their 20s, their late 20s, and they were there on their honeymoon. And I
That's
was
awesome.
like, that is so cool that you came here fishing on your honeymoon. And they were like, where else are we going to go? Like, this is the perfect spot.
Yeah, this is our spot.
Yeah. And I was just like, that is just the coolest thing. And so it's like, these are the histories and the stories that you get to share with these people that if they were in any other asset, I wouldn't know that.
Right.
I wouldn't know that the husband, the brand new husband, had been coming here with his grandfather and his father since, you know, he was born.
Exactly. Yeah. And
So,
then continuing generationally, on that same property.
yeah. And now he's bringing his brand new wife.
Right. I just,
So it was it's such a cool asset class to kind of be in because you get to meet all of these people, and it really does. I think that was the biggest thing, is that when I got into it, I realized the impact that I'm having on all of these families.
yeah.
And it wasn't, I just need to put in more pads and make more money. It was, how am I going to make this experience better for these families so that moving forward, it attracts their kids back and their
Right.
grandkids, and it attracts, their great grandkids, and it continues to keep that going.
Exactly. And I think that's like such an important thing to think about too, especially when you're trying to find RV parks. And like you just said, this is your new one, you're at your new one and getting, your feet on the ground and being a burden to your staff and all these kind of good things. Like, so when it comes to that and you're looking at all of these different opportunities of parks to purchase, how do you actually find good parks or parks that fit your portfolio? Like, because obviously you can go and pluck one out if you wanted to, but when you go and you look, like, I want the real version. What do you look for? What are the kind of things that drive you to make that deal happen?
Well, I do have to say, I think that one of the first things, and I talk about this a lot, is that whoever is listening to this, one of the first things you need to do is you need to sit down when you're rational and not emotional, and you need
Yeah,
to make out a buy box. Because the truth is that if you don't have a buy box, you really don't have a goal. You don't have a map. And if you don't have a map, you're never going to get to your destination. And
right.
so a lot of people are like, I just want to park. I don't care where. I don't care how big. I just want it to make this much money. And I'm going to go run it this way. Well, that doesn't really tell you a lot. And while your buy box will always change, because even our buy box has changed since we started, but you need to have your first goal and you need to sit down when you're rational about it
Yep.
and look at how it is. I mean, you're a legacy park owner. Your family has owned parks forever. When your parents or grandparents, was it your grandparents that started it?
My great grandparents.
Oh, wow. Okay, your great
Yeah.
grandparents. So when your great grandparents started it, it was not the huge endeavor it is now.
No.
It was
No.
probably, let's just start off with a couple of pads and invite some friends.
Yep. And it was like tents. And then I think like in their truck, like, you know what I mean? Like, cause, or like pop-ups, right? Pop-ups
Yeah.
were even barely a thing too. And it was like 1965 or something like that. So, I mean,
Amazing.
crazy.
That's amazing. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like, but think about that. Like your great grandparents didn't have the vision that it is now. And now you've got water slides. And I mean, don't you guys have like a lazy river?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
I
have
thought so.
basically any amenity you can think of on
Yeah,
property. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Basically, you're like my dream property. I'll get there.
You'll get
Um,
there. You'll get there.
I'll get there. But that was not what they envisioned when they started. And so things change. And it's the same with your buy box. Like you have to sit down when you're rational and you have to think, okay, how can I rationally buy this? What can I rationally afford? How am I going to manage it? And is this realistic?
Right.
Those are all kind of those questions that people don't really think about because they're like, oh, I'll just put a manager in place and then I'll go off and do my own thing. And as any park owner knows, you can't just throw a manager in there. They have to,
Right.
what you're doing, they have to have the right values and integrity that you need. They need to understand how your culture is going to be. Like there's so many different aspects to it that you can't, and every park manager does not fit every park.
Right. No, and you can't like you have what, six or seven managers?
9 now. Yeah.
Nine. Yeah. So you can't pick up one from this park and move them to another park because the park might function completely differently. You might have a marina and all of these things, and then they don't. You know what I mean? So you have to fit the mold of what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And
Um,
temperament. Temperament is
right,
completely different. Like, as an example, we opened up one of our first seasons in our brand new park that we had. We had an assistant manager and a maintenance lead that their personality just didn't clash. It clashed with the people that were there that came there for years. And we realized, you know what, it's not a good fit. And not because they weren't the right people, they just weren't the right people for that park.
right. Well,
They would
and
be
the
the
thing
right people
is
for
that's
another park.
anything.
Yeah.
Like you could have, a food and beverage manager that comes from, some high-end restaurant, right? And then comes to your park and you're like, that's just not, you're great, but that's not the vibe that we're looking for and not that we want, right? So I think that like hits the nail on the head too, that you can't just pluck somebody and put them in because you have to really look at what your park needs and how to operate and move forward that way.
Yeah.
And you guys do a great job at that.
Thank you.
Um,
Like we really do try to value ourselves on picking the right people for each area.
yeah.
So,
Well,
and
and I get to work with them closely too, which is like the cool part about my job with your staff, right? And then also, like your director of operations who oversees all of it too, right? So it's like you have to have your perfect managers here and then they all move up and then move up to you to have this like flawless team of how it's going to work.
yeah.
So
And
it's
that
it's been a
takes
joy there.
so much time to build. Like
Oh,
everybody
absolutely.
always just assumes. And the funny thing is that what I've realized is that across the board, a lot of new park owners, what they think is I'm going to go in and I'm going to find a manager and they're going to run it. And they haven't figured out like what the culture of that park is, how that park
Right.
should be running. They don't even know how to run the park themselves.
Right.
And when you don't know how to run the park yourself, you don't have a basis of how the park should run.
Exactly.
And if you don't have that basis, then it's just kind of a free for all and everybody's going to do whatever they want.
Right. And then you can't scale, right? Which is like your entire purpose of why you're buying one and then multiple.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but
Yeah.
we do have a question in the chat. You mean to give you that?
Yes.
It says, I work with a lot of clients who are looking to expand to their second and third parks. I am familiar with many of the PMS systems out there, but how has Staylist helped and supported you during your growth and across such a diverse portfolio, especially when things are consistently changing across the industry?
Actually, that's a really great question. You guys, so your team has been amazing. And I talk about it all the time because really across the board, we started with our first park. And I'm going to say it was kind of a fluke that it all happened because I actually didn't meet your team at my first COE because you guys were not there. I
Yeah.
met another system. And when I called to book my demo, they never called me back. And so I started calling all of them, and you guys were the only ones who really called me back in a timely manner. And that was kind of my first clue that, okay, you know what? I'm big on customer service. I don't know what I'm doing. I need somebody who's going to answer my question because I'm floundering and I'm trying to figure this out.
Right.
And so that was one of my first clues. So as we put your system in, not only did you guys give me training, but you guys broke down every system. You guys were constantly answering my questions. You guys were great. But as we've been growing and as we've been seeing things change across the board, your staff has been really, really great at, hey, we need to add this to our system, or we got this new park and now we've got this marina. We
Right.
need these kind of systems put in place for this. I know right now we're looking at adding another, what is it called? Instead of refunds, we're talking about putting
Get
in,
like a gift voucher.
no, it's a trip policy.
Okay.
Well, not an insurance. It's like a cancellation policy thing where instead of the cancellation policy where we keep, like, say, $35, you pay $25 to kind of insure the trip.
Right.
So you guys are working with us on that. We needed an
Yep.
AI system for the phone. You guys worked on that. Like, I love that as we grow and see what we need, you guys are easily adaptable to helping us build that out.
Right. Well, and I think that's, looking at it in the whole realm of, you guys have an extensive portfolio, right? These are needs that you're wanting. And then, we talk to other parks and they're the same needs, right? It's just sometimes people voice them differently or better than others or don't voice them at all. And so that's one thing that like, when we meet with your team and they're like, hey, this, and this, are ways that we can help scale. Do you already have that in your system? And if you do, help me like figure out how to, put it in. And if not, let's talk about how we can help drive a product roadmap to, move us to the next level so that not only do you grow, but us as a Staylist team grows as well. And it's partnerships like this that, help the industry grow, which is, such an amazing part of it.
Yeah. And you guys have open communication and dialogue with my ops director and my managers, which is great because what one manager sees in one park is not
Right.
necessarily what another manager sees in another park. So, like right now in our newest park, actually yesterday, this question came up. We were talking about bait. So, there's special bait that we have for the ocean. And one of the things that came up was Patrick was like, I have no idea what these things are called.
Yeah.
Can we put them in the system with a picture? And I was like, well, if they don't have that already, I was like, talk to the Staylist team. I'm sure
Yep.
they can help us figure out how to do that. And
Yep.
so it's like, I never have to question whether you guys are going to help us. Like, I know I can have an open conversation. You'll guys say, yeah, we can do that, or let us look at it and see what we can do.
Yep. Well, you can tell Patrick that you can add your whatever bait pictures you want for your point of sale. So no sweat
And he'll
there.
be thrilled. Yeah, no, because it was, yeah, the amount of bait that I see, I'm like, I have no idea what that is even called.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're good there. Tell him we've got him covered.
Yeah.
Um, we have a
So
few
that,
more
yes, please.
questions. Yeah. Okay. How exactly do you source deals is the first one.
So we actually do a lot of our deal sourcing is one, we get them a lot direct from seller. Um, so sellers will sometimes say, hey, we're getting ready to sell. We are looking for people. I mean, Facebook sometimes has a lot of them. We have actually talked to people in local areas where we see a park when the reviews have gone down. We know
Right.
that somebody is probably tired or they don't have the money to upgrade. And so we've called and just said, hey, have you guys ever considered selling? And a lot of our deals nowadays come directly from brokers. We've built great relationships with some amazing brokers in the industry. And so they are always on the lookout and they know exactly what kind of park we want to buy because we have a pretty solid buy box.
Right.
Um, and so when they get something in their, scope and they say, okay, you know what, this park is coming up. Do you guys want to take a look at it before it hits the market? And so that has really helped us. I think a lot of people don't realize the asset that brokers can be for you, and how much, if you just build that relationship with them, how much they're on your side.
Right.
So,
Well, and I think that's like, a lot of people just think that, oh, I'm just going to find a park and that's going to be my park. And it doesn't necessarily work that way, right? Like it's all about building relationships and making sure that you have, your buy box, right? What you want, where you're looking for. We actually just got a question, what is a buy box? So I'll let you explain what that is. But if you don't have those things set up in line, then it's not going to be profitable for you, and you're going to be in, every different direction without, having a streamlined, direction of where you want to go.
Yeah, and it's so so true. You need to have going back to the buy box question. What a buy box is basically your roadmap of what you want to buy. And so what it means is like for us, when we started out, we knew that we needed to rationally, when we sat down and actually thought about what our roadmap to owning our first park would look like, it was we want to own in tourist areas that generate a lot of income based on the fact that there's a large influx of people. You might want to buy a park that is a long-term park or a short-term park. Short-term parks are more vacation, long-term parks are usually either, workforce housing, affordable housing, or some kind of a longer-term seasonal housing type of situation, where transient parks are definitely more vacation-oriented tourist destinations. You want to understand what exactly you want to be running. Do you want to be running one that has more of a resort feel where you have all of the amenities, or do you want to be a place that you just park,
Right.
and you're just a destination for them to kind of park and then go off? I have both types. I have parks with water slides, and then I have a park in Valdez, Alaska that is literally no frills. It's got laundry rooms and a store and a front office,
Yep.
but everything is about being in Alaska and it's not about being in my park. And we do amazing in that park because of the location. Um, and then basically, what kind of revenues do you want to bring in? So we have a starting NOI of about $500,000. When we first started, our NOI was $250,000. Now, I know sometimes when you hear people talk about NOI, some of them are like, oh, it doesn't matter because it's your net operating income before your debt service. So that is what your park brings in before you put debt on it to pay that note off. And the reason why ours started at 250,000 was because one, we wanted to be able to handle the payment for buying the park. We also wanted to be able to pay a salary to a manager or whoever needed to be working in the park. And then we wanted to be able to put money into what we call a war chest in case we needed to upgrade any amenities.
Right.
And so you need to understand that number going into your first park, or you can be very cash or park rich and cash poor. And if
Right.
you're cash poor and you can't upgrade things as they need to happen, or if a water main breaks or anything like that, you're going to be in a world of hurt, actually.
Well, and the thing is, you have to also, like what you said earlier, right? Like your first property, you needed to make more money on that property, right? You needed to like find ways to do that. And so if you're cash poor and you can't do all these upgrades, like you talked about Wi-Fi, I think,
Yeah.
between me and you, and you're like, you have to have good Wi-Fi. That's one of the first things that you upgrade.
Yeah.
And that's one of
And
those
that's
things.
expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have cash to upgrade it, then your park's just sitting in the same predicament that it was in before.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a huge thing. Like, I don't think people realize like how important Wi-Fi, because everybody's like, oh, everybody's going to go outside. Wi-Fi is probably the first thing that we will do in any park. Because one, all of our systems run on it and we need it. Two, it keeps people in your park longer, whether you realize it or not. Because if
right.
your kids are having a good time and they don't want to leave, but you can work from there, you'll
Yep.
stay longer.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is like, and then you go into ancillary spend, and then all these people are now, kids are going to go buy ice cream because, like, parents don't have to worry about, them not having activities to do, et cetera, et cetera. And, that those are ways that you can take a step back and say, hey, how do I make more money for my park by doing things like this? Um, we have quite a few in the Q&A. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
last question, I guess, about buy box is buy box in the form of check boxes? Um, so I'll let you answer that.
So a buy box is not necessarily a form. What it is basically your roadmap to what you want. So if you were to look at like my buy box right now, if I were to tell you what my buy box was, if you were a broker, I would tell you our buy box is any park that's over 75 plus pads. We love marinas, value add opportunities where we can either expand the park, we can add a store, we can add golf carts, things that need to happen that we aren't doing it. It needs to be a transient park, a vacation park. We have a couple that have long-term guests on them, but we really try to stay towards the transient section. And one of the reasons why is because I really like people in a good mood, and everybody on vacation's in a good mood. And that's
Exactly.
one of my favorite things is hanging out with
Yep.
people around the campfire and listening to their stories. But also they tend to spend a lot more. They've
Yep.
got income that they can spend out. They're there on vacation. They want to have a good time. They want to rent my golf carts. They want to come to karaoke night. They want to
Yep.
play in the arcade. They want to take part in all the activities. They want to spend the money in the store. They want to buy the memory gifts that, they take with them, the magnets and the stickers and the sweatshirts. So we stay in the transient space. Um, we also like to start with an NOI of about 500,000, so 500,000 plus,
Right.
because we will be adding a good staff. We like to pay our staff well because your staff is a reflection of who you are, and we want them treated well, which is
Right.
also why we added health insurance this last year to all of our full-time employees so that they knew that we wanted to take care of them. And so that would kind of be the start of our buy box. And that's kind of what your buy box would look like is basically what kind of a park do you want? What area do you want it in? What kind of management are you planning on putting in place? What starting NOI do you want them in? Now remember, that's net operating income before your actual debt service, and you want to make
Mhm.
sure, and what kind of operations do you want to have on it? So are you going to do restaurants, marinas, pools, water parks? Or are you just going to be a great straight park that is just off the interstate that gives somebody a comfortable place to stay?
Love that. I think that was really helpful. Now I have a few on here. I'm going to read these. Some of them are not questions, more comments towards you and what you're building, and then followed up with some questions. So just curious on how you handle the feel of your parks. We own a park that is over 50 years old, and the one that we hear day in and day out is that our guests really like the fact that as owners, we're on site daily, walking the park all the time. They love the fact that the park still feels family owned and operated and not a corporate park. So, how do you maintain that feel with multiple parks and not being on site all the time? I know that you can hire people, but they will never treat your park like the way you will as an owner.
Actually, I have been very, very blessed with my managers. My managers have taken full responsibility of their parks, and they really do make it feel like it is their park. Which is something that we're actually working towards is like, how do we help our managers with that ownership? Besides that, between me, my husband, and the other family that run and operate this and our regionals, we are all in and out of the parks every month. And so when they do see us, we will go down there and we'll sit at the campfire, roast a s'more with your kid. And we
Yeah,
really do want to have that personal feel. And we want to keep every park as true to the way that it was built. Listen, these parks are owned by mom and pops and they want to retire and they want to move on. And if their kids don't want to take it over, the biggest thing that they have a problem with is the fact that somebody's going to come in and change it. And
right,
so our thing is we don't want to change it. There's a reason why it's special. There's a reason why it's been loved by so many people. And we really want to continue that. So it's not bought by a corporation that changes it into a cement pad that has no real life or heart to it. And
right.
so our biggest thing is that we want to be in the parks. So we are inside the parks multiple times a year. Like I am currently in our newest park in Marina right now, and I've been here, messing things up for our managers and making all of the guests laugh at me because I have no idea what's going on with the marinas and the moorage. But right when I leave on Wednesday, our operations director and his wife come in right behind us and they get to do the same thing. So
I love that. Well, and you're like like Sean asked, like or said, like you're keeping that family tradition alive. And even like my family, like I can have a true testament to that. Like our GM, like he actually grew up coming and vacationing there, right? And now he's managing the park. He doesn't have any owner stake in the park, right? But he loves the park like it's his own because he has memories and stuff there too. And so I think that if you look hard enough, you'll find those people as
yeah,
well,
and you do.
who love your park.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
my manager here has been somebody who's grown up here, so she knows all the locals. They're super excited that she's actually managing the park because everybody knows her and she knows everybody by name and she's been fishing here for decades. So her and her husband are well known here. They love the park. They love everything about it. They know all the people. I mean, she greeted everybody by name yesterday from and was like, "Oh my gosh, remember we sat on the patio last year and did this?" And I'm
Yeah,
like, that's what we want. One of my parks is actually managed by my one of my best friends that I've
that's
known for
awesome.
decades. And she grew up in that particular area and moved from Colorado to Virginia to go run that park because it's in, where her family's from.
Right.
And so it's not like we're, taking that family feel out of it. What we're doing is we're trying to just kind of, it's people who have come from that park. Our Alaska park, the manager there has been an assistant manager in that park forever.
Right.
So it's people who already love the park and people who already love the area and who have been going there for years.
And loving just RV parks in general, I think, is a huge thing.
Yes.
Um, we do have 7 questions. We're getting loads now.
Okay.
Um, how are you funding your purchases? Are you using sub two or creative financing, or are you using traditional funding options? How do you feel about sub two and creative finance as they are being looked down upon by brokers and park owners?
So we have not done a sub two in general, but what we have done is buy an LLC. So we have done that where we've actually gone in with the original owner and we've purchased their LLC and kept them in as a small shareholder until we can refinance them out. And that's worked really, really well for us. We've also seller financed. I mean, we've done everything from a percentage all the way up to 100% seller finance on a park. We have done traditional lending with stacks. So we've brought in a private money lender, done seller financing, and had a bank loan all on one park, which actually did give us all of the money that we needed. Plus, it gave us a capex so that we could go in right away and transition some things out.
Right.
That was on a park that was really run down, had a lot of things breaking. The main water system was crap. I think they built it in like 1942.
Yeah, definitely had some bad pipes up in there.
Yeah, the pipes
Yeah.
were actually made out of clay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Um,
trees were just, it was, yeah. Um, but doing it that way gave us the, extra $500,000 that we were able to go in and kind of really like gut that out and redo all of that. One of the parks that we bought, we did seller finance with $300,000 down. And then 2 years later, she came back and actually sold us her last park, which we bought in cash at a 50% cap. And so,
wow.
yeah, it was, but we had done so well with her first park that we purchased from her that she was like, I really just want somebody that I can trust who's going to do what they say they're going to do. And so she brought her back her last park and she was like, I'm really ready to retire. I would really like it if you guys took this one over. And so we were able to do that. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. You can do SBA loans, DSCR loans. I love seller financing. We build great relationships with all of our sellers. I think every time we're in town with one of them, like we have some of them who have vacation spots in like Scottsdale and Arizona and stuff. And whenever we're in town, we always stop and have dinner with them. Um, a lot of them come back for holidays to our parks and spend them with us and help us continue on that tradition. Like Alaska is a perfect example. They built that park from scratch themselves. They sold it
I
to us
love that.
when we were ready to retire. We took it over. We absolutely love that park. And every 4th of July, they come back and actually do a fish fry with us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they get to see all of their
Yeah.
guests and friends that they've known, through all those years. But they come back and spend the holiday with us, and we love it.
Ways to keep their tradition alive. I
Yes,
guess
yes.
that's what
And they still
matters.
get to be a part of it without all the headache.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
So some of these people are on the webinar are probably taking notes on that one. Okay. Ooh,
yeah,
I can do that.
yeah.
Um,
So it's a really great way to kind of incorporate the old and the new together and kind of keep that feel together. But
exactly.
so yeah, so I've not done a sub two, but we have done LLC purchases.
So this one's kind of piggybacking, but I just want to read the comments on this one as well because I believe that you answered this, but if there's anything in this one you can add to it. It says, first, huge thank you to all your LinkedIn content. I have pointed many people to your profile and it's been incredibly helpful. Have you found specific types of financing that have worked better or ones that you should avoid? I think that you kind of answered that. A client of mine recently worked through bonds, but I am often fielding those questions or any directions they should be looking to into. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, I think if you, the biggest thing about any purchase on a park is one, realizing that they're people,
yeah,
realizing that they have certain goals, and realizing that not everybody, seller or buyer, we're not always educated on everything that's going on. And
right,
so I think as a buyer, my biggest thing is that I'm supposed to educate my seller on every way that they can actually exit this park that would be the most beneficial to them.
right,
And also something that would help me. And so being able to educate them on, okay, you know what? If we do it with a seller finance, these are the ways that it helps you. These are the things that we have to do, and these are how transparent we have to be. And basically, we're married until this is done.
right.
And, we can have a great marriage if we're just openly transparent.
Which how it all should be, right? In
Absolutely.
in all regards.
Yeah.
A lot of these questions that we have in here, Michelle, are about employees, about retention. How do you hire people for only a 6 month season? How do you go about hiring your first manager? How do you scout managers? So if you just want to talk about how you find, keep, encourage employees, then I think that'll all encompass all of these questions.
Okay, well, let me start with the beginning of this whole management thing because that was always our biggest issue too, right? Is just the right staff.
Right,
Uh, my first park was definitely the one that I learned so many different lessons on. We actually went into it ourselves. We decided that we were going to manage it and try to figure it out because really, I do think that it is really important to understand your asset as much as you possibly can. It's such a there's so many ways that you can be stolen from or that you can lose revenue or
right,
that you can leave revenue on the table. And so it's definitely one of those things that you have to understand what you're running and how it runs.
right.
I think one of the biggest things that Patrick and I do whenever we go into a park is that we actually visit it a couple of times before we close on it so that we can kind of get a feel of who's going there, so that we
Right.
can kind of have on our radar like what type of a manager we want to have in there. Um, we did in the very, very beginning hire a company that was a third party management company, and I can say that I probably will never do that again. Um, I think when you do that, you do become a number, and that's when the culture and the feel of the mom and pop gets lost.
Right.
So when you've got, I mean, and this management company, when they took it over, which we thought, okay, well, this will be simple. We'll throw a management company in, it'll be great. We found out that not only were they managing our park, but they were managing a park right down the road from us. So now we're in direct competition with ourselves.
Right.
Secondly, when that manager was gone, we found out that they were actually using our manager to do both parks.
Oh, yikes.
And both of us were paying them full time. Not them, but the actual company who was then
Right.
paying them the same salary. So they were taking all the extra. And then
Right.
both parks were only getting half the business. Um, and it was just kind of, and they didn't care. Like they would just spend on things that we were like, well, is that really important right now when we should be spending on these things?
Right.
And so, and then the culture wasn't there. It was just, here, we're checking you in. This is where you're staying. Great. See you later. And the second we realized like this is not going to work, and we actually hired our own person and trained them with how we are, the
Right.
whole thing shifted. We went from being a park that wasn't doing anything to a park that really started. I mean, we started getting 5-star reviews. And so, and I mean, it's just a small little quaint little park in Branson, Missouri with it doesn't even have a pool,
Right.
but we get 5-star reviews all the time because
I
our
and I
man,
love your management team from Hideaway. I love
oh,
them.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're great. Honestly, I love all of our management team, and we've been very, very lucky.
Yeah.
But I really do think that that comes from understanding that particular park and then getting an
Right.
idea of who is going to be in there. So we do find one of my best friends manages one of my larger parks, Pappy at
Hmm.
Lake Ridge, is I've known her for decades. That woman has held my hand through everything in life, and I don't know what I would do without her. So her taking over this park was just kind of the normal course of, hey, I'm going to buy a park in your hometown. Do you want to move there? And she was like, okay.
Yeah. It like sounds good. I love it.
Yeah, and she's great. And, she calls and tells me funny stories and it's just I got this whole list of things. She's like, yeah, let me tell you what happened this weekend. From a 4-year-old hiding in the bathrooms and te scaring the entire campground to somebody getting dared to drink an entire bottle of hot sauce and an ambulance having to come. So,
Sounds right.
yeah, and you've got to just be able to know like what kind of a temperament you need for each park.
Right.
And they're
Yep.
all different.
Yeah, that's like one of the questions here. It was like, transient parks are very dependent on strong boots on the ground, as a park manager and a management team. And the question is whenever you get a new park and, that's a great asset that you have, but the management team is lacking, how do you kind of maneuver from that? Like, how do you say, hey, I want you to operate to the next level? Do you dismiss them or do you expect them to get on par with, what you're building and what you're trying to move to?
Well, we do definitely go in, and one of the first things that we do is we interview everybody who's staying in the park. And so Brian will usually go in and he'll sit down and have interviews with everybody who's staying in the park. Then we figure out who's going to be aligned with what we want and who might be an issue. If we need to, we'll start getting information about people in the area who might be interested. A lot
Love
of the
that.
time, what happens is we'll go into a park, and usually the managers or the owners, and they'll be exiting. They usually have a good idea of, okay, this person wants to stay, or this person might be a good fit for this park. One of the biggest things that we find is that when the owners have been there, they've run things a certain way. And then
Right.
the next person behind them is usually is like bursting with ideas.
Right.
And they see
Yep.
so many different ways that this park could be so great if they could just do this.
Right. Yep.
And so we interview them, we just sit down and have discussions. And a lot of our managers have actually come from those assistant manager roles or somebody who's been in the park before, who has been, wanting to have that moment to implement these ideas. On top of that, we've also had owners who are like, you know what, this person who runs this over here is going to be really great if you can get them on board. So, like our park that we just hired, she worked for another company, and he was like, I've been trying to get her over here for years. This might be the chance to get her over here. So, we interviewed her. We thought she was amazing. We gave her an offer, and she came over to work for us. And she's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the time it's people who have been coming to that area before, who really love that park, who are either local to the area or local to that park. And I'm going to say most of our people have come from that. It has been from networking, understanding who's in there, talking to the current owners, talking to the staff, finding the right people in that area, and even guests who've come there for a long time. Like you would be amazed how many times I've gone into a new park and have heard, oh my gosh, I've been coming here since I was a child. I would love to work here.
Yep.
So a lot, and that's a lot of how we got a lot of people that have worked for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it was at my park too. I mean, it's the culture, right? It's like the dream of coming and doing something within somewhere that you grew up with or that you're surrounded by, just because of the culture is so great.
Think, and I'm going to say this too, a lot of that I think does come from being a good boss.
Yeah. Oh,
I hate
absolutely. You're creating the culture yourself, though. Like
yeah.
you're creating the culture within your team. And I mean, that's what I love about Team Staylist is we have a fantastic culture where like, the camaraderie is always so high. And I think it's the same thing for Bison Peak Ventures too.
Yeah. We are very big on the fact of, okay, you know what? You are boots on the ground. You're in there every day. We want you to have ownership of what you're doing. We're going
Yep.
to trust you to make certain decisions.
Right.
We're not going to micromanage everything, but we trust that we put the right person in place to do it. And so
Exactly.
with that, we know like we're here to collaborate, which is why we're not technically like we hate to be called the executive team. We're more of the we call ourselves the support staff. So we're
Uh-huh.
here to support you. Like,
Right.
what is it that needs to happen? How do we support this?
Right.
And we have found that our managers really step up to that. And the people who fit those roles have stepped up for that.
Yeah, because they take pride in the work that they're doing And because it does become their park as that
Yes,
manager. You know what I
and it
mean?
does
Yeah.
very
And
much.
they wake
And
up and they're like, how can I help today?
oh, I literally had our manager here pulled a double yesterday because we currently went through a staff changeover. She is building out her team right now. A couple of people were not on board because, like, one of them was a little upset that they did not get the management role. And so they were a little passive aggressive. And she was like, this isn't going to work. She had to let him go. She had to pull a double. And I was like, okay, well, we're here. And she's like, no, you guys go do the shopping list. I'm totally fine being here. I love these people. It'll be great.
Right.
And so we were like, are you sure? Like, go at least go to dinner. Like, you need to go away. And she's
Yeah.
like, no.
Go eat something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so her husband came down and hung out on the patio and sat with guests while she was there. So they were kind of like still hanging out together, which is one of the other things that I do love about this industry is that it's not so like rigid that you can't have your husband come and sit on the patio and meet with guests.
Right. Exactly.
So, and
Go on a
we're,
golf cart ride and just say hi to everyone. It's one of
yeah,
those. Yeah,
we're all
exactly.
about family. So if your family's coming, the more the merrier.
Exactly. Yep. And then
Yeah.
it becomes a celebration, and then all of a sudden you guys are staying there a week on vacation too. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
And that's the thing.
Um,
And so I do think that a lot of that comes from being the right people in charge, like understanding that your team is there to run your park and
right.
you trust them.
Well, and the thing is that just goes into like your operator reality, right? And like slowing things down, making sure that you're, where you need to be, and that, your staff's working for you, your park's working for you, and ultimately us, your system is working for you too. You know what I mean? It's like you're encompassed in all of it.
Yes.
Um, we do only have like 5 minutes left. I know. We just got to talking. Oh, huh?
That went so fast.
I know it went so fast. We do have several, more comments in the Q&A, but one of them says, Michelle, I would like to second what you're saying that Staylist has worked with us from the beginning of onboarding and everything that we needed to try to accommodate and help us fix problems that arise, and they take our feedback really seriously. So I wanted to just show, if that's okay for the last couple of minutes,
Oh my gosh,
some,
yes. I am so
yeah.
excited about the things you guys are implementing.
So one thing that a lot of Michelle's parks do are long-term reservations. And not because she has long-term parks. She's a transient park, but within your transient parks, right, you have long-term guests. And that's one thing that Staylist was like, hey, how do I make this better? For, her parks, but all of the parks that are encompassed within Staylist too. So I'm just going to do a quick little overview, and then I'm going to have something that we're building that Michelle knows about too. We shared on our last webinar, but it's our new Staylist Apex OS, which is an entirely new redesigned version of Staylist with AI at the core that's going to help just maximize all of your operational efficiencies from the ground up. So this is what current version of Staylist looks like that Michelle and all of her team uses now. Obviously, you have a dashboard like, every property management software you have, but, all of these things are going to be, to you, right?
Mhm.
The really cool thing about this is we have anything from a native point of sale where you don't have to go outside, which is what she was talking about with the baits in here, a housekeeping module, maintenance module, subscriptions where all of your long-term stays will stay. If you do storage or marinas like Michelle does, those will live in here. And then obviously all of your reports. So we are USALI certified, which means that from accrual accounting, and I love Michelle's CPA team. They are knockout. They're so amazing. And they help us get better and better with all of our reports every day. So these are all ways that, you can help look at your financials from the ground up and say, hey, what do I need to fix? What do I need to move forward, and do everything there. So one thing that everybody loves about Staylist is that it's super quick and easy to use. And like I was saying about the long terms, this is your availability grid. You can choose whatever dates that you want, and it's going to actually outline and draw for you where you're going. So even down to picking a rig, right? We know that 42 fifth wheels are really huge now, and it's going to just show me what I have going on here. One really cool thing, like I was saying, was the long-term stays that, Michelle with her seasonals that they have. And so if you go in and you actually click on our long-term module and you choose to do a long-term stay, it's actually going to go in and read for you what all of your monthly billing is going to be. And so that you can start from the ground up on everything that you need. We'll go in here under subscriptions and show you what a long-term reservation is going to look like so that you have full clarity and visual of what that is. So if we click in here, you're going to actually have invoices every single month that are going to be paid, reading your monthly rates, and you can add anything from charges to point of sale orders, so like a charge to your room, all the way down to add-ons. So whether you're looking at golf carts, kayaks, canoes, anything like that, you can all add them within your reservation here. Another thing that Michelle said that she has a lot of are group reservations, which are super easy to make within Staylist. You literally just click and drag and you can create however many groups that you want. And then whenever you move there, you can go in and add, take away. You also have a guest portal that's going to say, hey, this is my rally master, which all of us in RV space know what that is. And then they can choose who in those specific sites that those belong to. And you don't even have to call the front desk. We just give you a link and they can do all of that on their side of things too. So all really easy ways to make your operations easier. And then the last thing is the AI that obviously we know and love, right? So this is going to be right on your dashboard. You can do quick and easy, clicks. What's my ADR? It's going to populate for you. Um, but you can say, what is my occupancy for July 4th weekend? And the thing is the great thing about the AI being so native is it's not going to hallucinate for you. It's actually going to go in and pull from reports that are already in there because Michelle will tell you she hates trying to find reports. So all you have to do is ask a question and it's going to produce what you're looking for here. Um, and so, even bar graphs, you can export them, copy them, send them to whoever they need. So her operations or her director of operations, Brian, can, if she needs a question answered and she doesn't want to get in the system, he can ask it directly and send it over to her, which is just a great way to source that out and to look at a quick view. Also here, these are all, you can save replays. So if there's something that you want to look at every day, how are my backends doing versus my pull throughs? That's something that you can ask the AI and click through. We were actually talking before the webinar, and looking at category types and charges that were associated with these categories. Granted, this is not any of Michelle's parks. This is just our demo account, but you can ask it a question, right? I asked it a question and it immediately assumed I was talking about my food and beverage, but then I was more specific and I said, no, I want to know what all of my unit categories are for this month. And then it actually broke down my gross versus my net profit for each of my categories. It actually gives you an explanation of what this means. So if you're not understanding, maybe you're a new manager and your higher ups are asking questions, it's going to actually spit this information out for you. And then you can see what charges are associated, which was my next question, with these unit categories, and it's going to populate those. Then lastly, I said, can you tell me what charges were posted and how many? And it showed the amount of money that I made, and then, what I received from those specific charges. So all ways that Staylist is, changing, modifying, growing to be able to support parks and portfolios like Michelle's, and so that we can just get better and better with her feedback, her team's feedback, and then ultimately provide the best service possible and the best partnership possible to be able to move forward. So with that said, I'm going to actually let Patrick, I know that we're over time, so if anybody needs to drop, feel free. But Patrick, I want you to show what we're building, where all of Michelle's parks are going to be at within the next couple of months.
Sounds great. Let's see here, just getting my screen situated. So, welcome to the first snapshot, I guess technically the second snapshot. Jeff chatted about what is coming up here at Staylist in our last AI webinar, but we wanted to give a sneak peek here of a couple of features within the Apex OS, as Courtney had mentioned. Really talking about a couple of things that we've just talked about that are in the current version that you all are using or looking at using, depending on where you're relationship is with Staylist. But in here, a couple of things that we've added to the grid. We're going to talk about AI throughout this is the ability to quote everything. So if somebody's a little bit more price sensitive, you're trying to see that, or you can also create carts. So for those multi-bookers, similar to the groups that we just talked about, I can actually add multiple things to the cart. And rather than making that traveler make the decision right on the phone, you can actually send that cart right to them and they can convert all of those at once. So maybe they're looking at a couple of different spots and you don't want to pressure them into selling right then and there. These carts automatically stick with the guest. So it's a really good idea to use that cart methodology. And then that ties into our AI-driven CRM. So what you're able to do is if that call came in, uh, what you're able to see is who called in, and then we actually rank and you're able to create a ranking algorithm using AI skills to say, how qualified was this buyer? And we can drop them into automated sequences that customize the content, the delivery methodologies to those. So in here, you'll notice that in current V3, our campaigns are a little bit limited in functionality, but in here, you'll be able to create dynamic lists. So in here you can say, did they book last year? Have they been staying with us for the last 5 years? Have they stayed an entire, $10,000 with us over the years? Are they high point of sale? So you're driving up increased profitability and you can target those lists and then send broadcasts to those lists as well. So in here, what you'll notice is that we've driven all of this via AI. I can actually say, I want to generate an email that highlights my park and things to do in the fall. Maybe you're trying to fill some gaps with some people that stayed last year. And rather than having to be creative, let the AI write the creative for you. So you're really going to be able to expand on that functionality. In addition to that, what we've driven is an AI-driven workflow management. So a lot of times you think about a fragmented experience with a guest saying, "Oh, I want to send them a confirmation letter. Maybe I want to try to upsell them a golf cart later on. Then I want to send them a welcome email maybe 2 days before their thing, and then I want to send them the gate codes right before." And it's all a disjointed experience. So in here, what we're going to be driving is what we call journeys. A journey is a one-stop shop holistic view of what you want to do. So reservations created, send them a payment reminder, or send them a confirmation letter, depending on how it came in. Maybe you want to upsell them golf carts. So then what you can do is you can do an action and you want to do a special email in regards to upselling golf cart or firewood or, more ancillary revenue for you. And through here, you know, we're going to continue to trickle in AI, right? So AI in here, maybe you don't want to write that creative on upselling golf carts or upselling canoes or whatever that may be. Just describe what you want in that template, and we're going to draft that copy, but then still give you that local flavor, right? So if you want to be able to come in and customize what the AI says, you're not limited to just that box. You get to give that local flavor, as so many people talked about in this webinar. Now, the most important thing and the thing that Mychele will really like is what we call artifacts. And what artifacts allow you to do is rather than me be the bottleneck of your operation and product, we can actually let you customize reports. And you can draft whatever report you feel like, whether that's I want a check-in report with these specific 5 columns, and maybe those 5 columns don't exist in our existing check-in report, or maybe you want something very specific for like Mychele. Maybe Brian wants to draft a regular report and give it to Mychele. What you can actually do is come in here and create an artifact. And then within that artifact, what you're able to do is schedule it. One of the biggest things that I like about reporting is not have to run it. I want it in my inbox every morning at 8 a.m. Now with artifacts, you're going to be able to schedule them, share them out. So maybe Mychele is looking at a park that she wants to look at, future revenues, or she wants to look at historical bookings. That park could actually create a report, and rather than exposing the entire system, they can actually share that link out to them. So if you're maybe on the grounds of a resort, you have a front desk gate guard, and they don't have the full access to Apex OS, but you just want them to get a nice clean list of here's who's arriving today, you can do that all within Artifacts. So Artifacts is really going to unlock your business in thinking about ways that we haven't, right? So you're going to be able to look at revenue in different ways than we have. You're going to be able to look at payment mixes. Maybe you want to look at, are we getting high volumes of Amex because you know that your margins are lower on Amex. So you're trying to see, where are my travelers spending as far as card blends and things like that. Lean on the new artifact system here within Apex. So I know that we are over. I wanted to give a little snapshot of a couple of things. There's a whole lot more to this, but I wanted to give some excitement of where AI is headed and really letting this operating system no longer be your bottleneck and let you get back to being hospitality professionals and meeting with all those people at the park and really expand on your opportunity there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pat.
I
I'm
just
gonna
sent
just share
a
this so that we
message.
can close out here. Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
I was saying I just sent my leadership team a message and said I'm getting a walkthrough of this Apex system and I cannot wait to get on it.
I know I'm probably gonna get a phone call from Brian when we get off, and he's gonna be like, "We're
Yeah.
gonna need to chat." I
Yes.
love
Yeah.
it.
No, I was like, you need to get a walkthrough on this right away. So
Yes. So all new things that are coming to Staylist, we're so super excited. If you guys are interested in a demo, please scan here. Obviously, a lot of you have already connected with Michelle on social media, on LinkedIn. So if you have any additional questions that we didn't get to share or answer for you within that Q&A, don't hesitate to reach out to her. I know that she is a plethora of knowledge, and she's a great person to chat with. I could literally sit and chat with Michelle all day. So Michelle, thank you so much, so much for you, your team, what you're building in this RV space. It really makes a difference for Team Staylist, but it also makes a really big difference with this industry. And I just love to see it. And I'm so happy that you're a part of our team as well.
thank you. Thank you. I love having you guys a part of our team. You guys have been so incredibly helpful. And I cannot say that it has been such a pleasure. You guys always are there to answer questions, to help us walk through team members through the system. Like, I could not ask for a better system that helps us in every way that we need. So I'm just so thankful for you guys.
I love it. Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you guys so much for attending. I know that we're about 15 minutes over in time, but we appreciate you guys coming. It's because of you we keep these up and going and want to make your operations the best that they can be. So, buy and scaling RV parks with Michelle. Thank you so much again. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.